About it. I was part of that majority, uncaring and unaware majority, until my what I call terrestrial transformation about 20 years ago. When I was a young boy, I wanted to be a priest. So that desire was part of my religious conditioning in a conservative Catholic family in a remote village in South India. Our family had already produced 4 priests and 7 nuns who were role models and guiding lights in my early years. So the purpose of the priesthood was to glorify God, who was understood as a heavenly Father who lived above the clouds, far away from the earth, separated from humans due to our sinfulness and our unworthiness. So life on earth was something to be endured rather than celebrated. Earth was viewed as a valley of tears with suffering, pain, and tribulations. We were told to keep our gaze focused on heaven above and not on earth below. So as a priest, I believed and preached that life on earth was not an end in itself, but only a preparation for the next life after death in heaven. So the role of the church was to prepare believers for an evacuation plan from this evil world, and priests and nuns were field workers. In my priestly mind, Earth Day was a secular day, which was never mentioned, during Sunday services. So the first 5 decades of my life, I walked on Earth, feeling alienated from its ethos and rhythms, engaging in religious infantilism. I paid no attention to the ground beneath my feet or experienced the magic and mystery of the universe around me. I was a sleepwalker on earth during the first half of my life. In the early years of the 21st century, with the looming environmental crisis and disasters and climate crisis, I began paying attention to planet Earth and other earthly concerns. So during the Earth Day weekend of 2010, 14 years ago, I preached a sermon about the importance of caring for the earth. And that day, a nice lady, came up to me. She chided me for talking about earth and not about Jesus in the church. She thought how an earthly topic could belong in a heavenly place, she thought. I began experiencing a shift in my spiritual consciousness from being heaven-centered to earth-centered. A shift from God in heaven to God on earth. That spiritual transformation was significant enough for me to elevate Earth Day to the level of a holy day such as Christmas and Easter. I think we should erase from our minds the mistaken idea that the earth is an inanimate object and see it as an intense and intricate process. In quantum mechanics, by the way, today's quantum, World Quantum Day, in quantum mechanics, there is no real boundary between animate and inanimate, living and dead. So that's very helpful. The vision of Earth as a living process will help us replace the unconscious notion that we live on the earth with the new awareness that we are living with the earth, participating in Mother Earth's ethos and rhythms and cycles. Changing something so simple as a preposition from, say, on and with can have a profound impact on how we experience and manage our life as earthlings. For example, living on the earth makes us mere users and abusers of the resources of the planet, while living with the earth can make us co-creators and collaborators on a cosmic journey of hope. Martin Buber, famous philosopher, he said he came up with the idea of I-thou relationship, and he usually talked about I-thou relationship between humans. I think we should expand it and make our relationship to the earth as I-thou. And there are countries like Ecuador, New Zealand, and India who have come up with personhood laws. They enacted laws and in those laws, in those countries, they look at Earth as a person. So in 2017, a high court in India, the northern state of India, declared the rivers, Ganges and Yamuna rivers and their tributaries such as streams, meadows, jungles, wetlands, springs, and waterfalls as quote unquote legal and living entities having the status of a living person with all corresponding rights, duties, and responsibilities. Now, enforcing these laws may be difficult, but I think the sentiments behind them are very praiseworthy. So we don't come to earth or we don't come on the earth, but we come out of the earth. We are dust, and unto dust we shall return. We are so familiar with that saying. Our body is an outgrowth of the earth. It is part of the planet, not apart from it. Remember that all the elements of the earth, such as oxygen, hydrogen, helium, carbon, nitrogen, are all contained in our body. We have iron in our blood and calcium in our bones. Just as about 70% of the earth is water, our bodies are also about 70% water. Moreover, the steel in our refrigerator door, the aluminum in our tin cans, the copper in our pennies, and the lithium in our smartphones, they all come from the earth. So we are in communion with it, but without thinking about it most of the time. So lamenting about the utilitarian approach to our home planet, Pope Francis wrote an encyclical a couple of years ago. It's called On Care for Our Common Home. Very powerful title. And he says this, quote, "We have come to see ourselves as nature's lords and masters, entitled to plunder her at our will. The violence present in our hearts is also reflected in the symptoms of sickness evident in our soul, in the water, in the air, and in all forms of life." So I realized the fallacy of misinterpreting the Creator's command. He says in the Bible, lord it over, or like have dominion over the earth. I kind of understood this as a license to dominate the terrain and exploit the planet for our selfish purposes. The awareness that only about 14% of the planet is inhabitable for humans made me realize that we are not masters of the earth, but we are mere servants. So ask this question, who belongs on the earth? The fish that can claim 70% of the earth as home, or me who can only claim like 14%? So the sudden erosion of hubris was a spiritually humbling experience. We cannot survive without the earth, but the earth can survive without us. I mean, that has to be a very humbling thought for any human. So, given all this, it is remarkable how incurious and unconcerned most of us are about Mother Earth that has birthed us, supports us, and sustains us. So, it is time to end our sleepwalking on the earth. Consider this question posed by spiritual writer Sally McFaig. She asked, what if we saw the earth as part of the body of God, not as separate from God, who dwells elsewhere, but as the visible reality of the invisible God? So let's join this morning Prophet Isaiah and humbly proclaim, holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of his glory. That is Isaiah chapter 6:3. So to conclude, even though it appears that we are staying put on a sturdy surface, on a static earth with our solid bodies, the reality is that we are a collection of atoms with consciousness swirling around in space on a spinning planet, involved in a spine-tingling celestial ride. Make your ride an enjoyable and exciting experience by embracing the entire earth as holy and hallowed. And the question is, this is a question. How do you feel about elevating Earth Day as a religious holy day like Christmas and Easter?